Steam now shows that you don't actually own the game you're buying. Oh, man. Here we go, dude. We've talked about this a lot here lately, okay? We've talked about this a lot. This is a terrible situation. This is you know, one of the more mind-blowing thing for people that are coming to the realization of embracing the digital front of game ownership is that it's not really ownership. It's, you know, when you move over from primarily a physical collection of games to embracing the digital front, there are things that you relinquish in regards to that type of ownership. And you know up front what that is. It's, you know, what games tend to be on a physical front of owning it, buying, having the physical copy. You can't let people borrow it. You can't, you know, trade games with people. You can't trade in games or, you know, whatever. It's there's something different about that digital media that you're missing with what you had on the physical front. And we always know, I mean, there are pros and cons to both, right? It's an easily managed library more often than not, right? It doesn't take up as much space. It's you know, you just get onto whatever platform that you have your library on, you find the game you want, you install it, you play it. It's not digging through all of your physical discs or cartridges or whatever, you know. It's so there've always been pros and cons to both. And now obviously PC's been much more progressive on adopting the digital front than console has, but console's moving this way as well. They have been for a while, and the big issue that's been coming to the forefront of what the problem is with the digital games is, for a long time now, many of us have known that we don't actually own these titles, right? Which is what really prevents us from being able to do whatever we want with these titles. Yeah, and in the same capacity as what we were able to do with games when we owned physical copies, like I was speaking about before. And it goes even further into, you know, a lot of what happens is, you know, like say somebody had a large collection of physical video game, you know, they pass away or something unexpectedly, and, you know, they can leave that to somebody, and then whoever they leave that to, it's theirs to do what they want with. Well, the way that a lot of this goes is because you don't actually own any of this. You're licensing it specifically you. So what happens is what there's, you know, this is, there are a lot of ins and outs, and I'm just giving examples here, but it's like they're because it's a license and it's licensed specifically to an individual, it no longer becomes something that you have a lot of rights to, right? So if you've got this massive library of digital content, digital games, and something happens, you know, gamer gods forbid, you know, pass on, you can't leave it to anybody because it's not theirs, because you don't really own it, right? And that concept plays into a lot of other notions about how much can you actually do with your library? How much do you actually own? Which is asinine, really, because, I mean, you know, the physical copies of games, we're paying more now for digital games than we were paying previously for the physical games that we would buy. And we have less rights for what we're buying. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I understand that there's going to be always these companies protecting themselves from you know, certain kinds of exploitations of what consumers could potentially do with some of the digital content and media and things like that. But it's got to be, you know, to an extent. I mean, we're being railroaded here. There's no doubt about this. We are absolutely being railroaded on this front. The fact that we're paying, you know, just for a license to play a game feels absolutely asinine. You know, we're paying this much money, $70 a pop for AAA games, and we are literally not owning any part of it at all. You know, that's nuts, man. That's crazy. So, there's been you know, one of the things that I've always tried to raise awareness about since I've been streaming and doing the news is how little protections we have as consumers. We don't have many organizations in the industry that are looking out for us, that are trying to protect us, that are trying to ensure that we are, you know, our rights are being protected, as well as holding maybe these companies in the industry accountable for doing scummy things to us at the same time, right? There's just not much of that goes on, which is why I talk quite often about how important it is for us to protect ourselves, how important it is to be educated about what companies you are supporting in the industry, because, you know, you support the good ones, prop them up, help elevate the good companies in the industry, and you let the bad ones die off. That creates a better environment for us in this industry all the way around, because it's on us, really. We don't have any other organizations, regulatory committees, you name it, to help do this kind of thing for us, you know? And so it's a bad situation. I think there's, over the past probably half decade, there's been a lot more, I think, as a whole, the gaming community, us as gamers, have been more perceptive about what is happening all the way around in these kinds of fronts that I'm talking about, and in respect to this notion specifically of how much do we really own what we're buying, you know, especially on this digital front. There's been a lot more awareness being raised about what is going on here. Unfortunately, I think where I see most of the work being done is really in the EU. The EU is where I see most of the news come out of, that they're trying to incorporate laws, raise awareness, get petitions started, things like that, to have people's rights protected for what's going on in this industry of entertainment, right? A lot of the other areas of the world don't seem like they're being quite as progressive about protecting consumers on this front. So I guess it's got to start somewhere. But I'm always interested in trying to ensure that us as consumers and video gaming enthusiasts, we're going to be protected on these kind of, this feels bad. This has been the case for a long time, though. It's unfortunately, it's been something that has kind of been swept under the rug a little bit. A lot of people, it's just been an oversight. People just haven't really paid attention to that, the fact that this is the situation. And now it is becoming something that people are more aware of, thank God. So it sucks. It's not good. It feels bad. And there needs to be more awareness, and we need to have more people fighting for our rights as consumers as to why we don't own anything we're paying so much money for. It's ridiculous, really. So I'll read this. What are you saying, Davey? So not only for console gamers, for all PC gamers that have hundreds upon hundreds of games from Steam, you all do not own any of those games. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, obviously, you know, like myself and an amount of other people, like we were talking about this the other day. We've been talking about this a number of times here recently, actually, and there always seems to be people that weren't aware of this, and it's very mind-blowing actually for people that don't understand this concept is actually what's in play here on the digital front of media, right? of our video games. And so when they find that out, they're like, oh my God, like, are you serious? Like, this is crazy. Because, dude, so many of us have, I mean, whether you're a console player or a PC player or anything else, so many of us have so many games now that have, you know, at least to some extent, we all have digital libraries, right? And so it's really wild that this is, you know, again, I think that the awareness being raised, that this is the important thing. People are becoming more aware, outraged by this notion, and that's the important thing. People are becoming aware and going, oh, this is crazy. Why am I paying more now for games than I even used to? And because I'm buying it digitally, I don't own it. Whereas if I was buying it physically, it would be all mine and I could do whatever I wanted to with it, right? How does that make any sense at all? That's insane. And what this is going to do is just make it more difficult for the console side of the industry to really convert over, right? To get them to have consumers to really convert totally over to a digital front, it's going to be even harder as more and more people realize this is what's going on. Less people are going to buy into that notion of digital because they're going to go, why would I? I don't own anything, right? A lot of us got duped back in the day. We didn't know this was the case. Whenever PC just kind of like flipped a switch and went, all right, everything's digital. Because it happened very fast, it felt like. You know, it wasn't immediate, but it was a pretty quick transition, really, it felt like. You know, I don't think many of us really understood what was going on there. And it was, for most of us that are focused on the industry and what's happening, we found out over time and went, well, that sucks. We're already, you know what I mean, so deep into, I mean, like, what can we do now? You know what I mean? Other than try to fight it, right? And raise awareness about it. So let's read this. Steam now shows that you don't actually own the game you're buying. The next time you buy a game on Steam, it'll be clear that you won't actually be buying the game. A recent update on Steam now shows players that instead of buying a game, all they are purchasing is a license. A purchase of a digital product grants a license for the product on Steam. The message reads along with a link to Steam's subscriber agreement. Steam has made an update. If you go to buy a game on the store, it tells you that you aren't actually buying the game. Instead, you are licensing it. Purchase of a digital product grants a license for the product on Steam. The update comes just after California signed a bill into law that requires digital storefronts to clearly state when media being purchased is only a license to access. The new law applies to all digital works such as music, movies, TV shows, ebooks, and video games. Quote, as retailers continue to pivot away from selling physical media, the need for consumer protections on the purchase of digital media has become increasingly more important. California Assembly member Jacques Irvin said that in a release at the time via The Verge, I thank the governor for signing AB 2426, ensuring that false and deceptive advertising from sellers of digital media incorrectly telling consumers they own their purchases becomes a thing of the past. Yep, the law goes into effect in 2025. As of writing, Steam is the only storefront to show this disclaimer. Neither the Xbox Store nor PlayStation Store nor Epic display the same notice when going to purchase a game from the stores. It's unclear when that update will come, but it should be expected to happen. What do you think of Steam telling players the game they are buying is just a license and doesn't constitute ownership? You know, this is another one of the things that's allowed a lot of companies to get away with kind of railroading us on other fronts as well, in regards to like shutting down games, shutting down shops, on the digital front and being like, well, you know, you don't really own it. So even though people get outraged and go, I can't access my game anymore, they go, well, yeah, but it's not really your game. It's our game. You just purchased a license to play it. And everybody went, what? You know, they've been able to do this kind of stuff for a long time because of these like kind of loopholes about the fact that we don't own anything anymore. It's terrible. It sucks. It shouldn't be like this, you know. There are a lot of ins and outs. There are a lot of things that I'm sure I'm not thinking of right now as well that need to be discussed in regards to this. So this is definitely going to become a video, and interested in having people discuss exactly, you know, what you're thinking about this situation. And honestly, I mean, this is something we all need to be vigilant about. We all need to be worried about and on a front in regard, in my opinion, a united front in regards to changing the way that this works. You know, again, it's not that I don't understand the business side of this to an extent as well, but it feels definitely like we're getting railroaded a lot right here, you know, on this.